What's up, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous Georgian Goes, delivering another big name in the sport of mixed martial arts. This guy is a coach in Sacramento. It's MMAGOLD, Jim West. What's up, Jim? How you doing? I love talking to the coaches, man. Sometimes these are some of my favorite interviews.
I'm doing well, man. Just hanging out. I was looking forward to getting on the show, so here we go.
Awesome. Yeah, we actually talked to Eric Nixick the other day, or yesterday, and that was always a great chat. It's just like this whole different perspective of the fight game. The fighters, they're either about to fight or coming off of a fight, and it's kind of like routine, but this is fresh for us. So let's start off with, I wanted you to address MMAGOLD and Team Alpha Male. It seems like in 2020, you guys have become a little bit more of friendly. We'll start with that, and then you can chime in and tell us just how close that relationship is.
Yeah, what's funny is back in December when Aspen fought Yana Kunitskaya back in Washington, D.C., we randomly, Dave was actually in a car ride with Uriah for quite some time. They were caught in traffic, and we ended up having dinner one of the nights when we were there and just started to talk and kind of squashed all the nonsense that had been happening over years, and kind of started to collaborate a little bit. And then after that fight, we kind of continued to communicate, and now we are where we're at. Now we have a very solid business partnership with Uriah and Team Alpha Male. We cross-train, and then there's a lot of stuff that goes on business-wise as far as kind of what we're doing as a group collectively for our fighters and our fighters that we continue to kind of nurture internationally as well. So it's a really good partnership. It's something that I don't believe anyone in MMA right now across the globe is doing. So I won't, go into too many details behind it, but it's something that is benefiting not only Team Alpha Male and MMAGOLD, but fighters abroad that I honestly don't know of any system on the planet relative to MMA to what we're doing right now.
You said you can't go into details, but are there any details? Because I'm fascinated. You said it's something that's unlike anywhere else. Are you talking about the cross-training itself or behind the scene?
No. The cross-training is there, of course. We go down there and some of their guys will come up to MMAGOLD on various times during the week. But we developed a system, a very coordinated worldwide network relative to every promotion there is in the country. And then we kind of used our own personal network that we have, whether it was Uriah's network, Dave's network, my network, and started to build relationships with people that were further relationships that we already had with coaches from not only in the United States, but with coaches and athletes outside of our country, whether it's in Poland, whether it's Argentina, whether it's Aruba, whether it's the UAE. We have a lot of connections to some of those coaches and athletes that really no one can kind of tap into just simply because they didn't have the connection where they're at. So we've kind of built a very big network globally where these athletes can come in and either train at Alpha Male, or they can train at MMAGOLD, or they can kind of do both, where we manage them as a group. We coach them as a group in conjunction with their coach, say, for example, in Aruba. And I corner them, or Uriah will corner them, or what have you. And it allows them into a very, very big network that allows fighters who are truly ready for us to take care of them, bring them in to cross-train, and then we coordinate, like I said, with their coaches from wherever they're from. And they're in a very, very, very developed, very well oiled business scheme for the athlete that is trying to get into the UFC or ONE FC or Bellator or what have you. An example would be Greg Millard, who I've known for quite some time. He's Jairzinho Rosenstruck's cousin and also his grappling coach, where he and I developed a relationship a couple years back when we met in Brazil. What's that?
That dude looks scary, by the way. I
Yeah,
said that dude,
yeah,
that dude
yeah.
looks
He's scary.
scary. I don't think I want to meet him in an
So
alley.
I didn't hear you.
I said that dude looks scary. I would not want to meet him in an alley.
Yeah, but he's a perfect example of what we're doing. He's got a big gym there in Aruba, a lot of fighters, and Greg's kind of we kind of coordinated with, and he'll actually be out here for 3 weeks in the middle of October. We just signed him to an exclusive contract with Bellator. So those are the types of things that we can do within our business program, that we do, like I said, with us, Dave and Uriah and all of Team Alpha Male. So it really benefits not only our guys at my place, but also at Alpha Male, and then athletes globally. They're able to tap into our system and work with our network. One that honestly is unlike probably any of them that I know of in MMA, and I've been in it for 17 years.
Now, just to, I guess, put an end to the Team Alpha Male and MMA Gold rivalry that once existed, because like you said, it's in the past. You guys are moving forward. You guys have something special. Everyone's getting along. But for a lot of people that may not have known, would you classify it as fun times? Was it a heated rivalry? Was it a friendly rivalry? Was it stressful? How can you look back at it, prior to you guys merging together and working together? All right, Coach, so I'm going to ask you, you mentioned that, the rivalry you guys had is in the past. You're moving forward. You guys have something special together now that the teams have merged. But if we can do a look back for a lot of the people that may not have known about this, how would you look back on it? And remember, this isn't a setup. We're real cool with Uriah and his team. We're real cool with you guys. But I think it's important to know, I guess that there was a past. So would you have called it a friendly rivalry, a heated rivalry? Were there fun times? Were there stressful times? How would you look back on it now?
I don't know. I don't know if I would denote it as a friendly rivalry or a heated rivalry. I would just denote it as being a rivalry. And I think a lot of it kind of stemmed from when I kind of first started, and we were kind of building the program way back in like 04, 05, 06, and it kind of continued to build and gain momentum as far as MMA Gold goes. We're only 20 miles away from them. You have regional shows at the time, just happening all the time. And obviously regional shows wanted to put, Alpha Male against MMA Gold athletes for many reasons. One, because it's competitive, and two, because of ticket sales and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things there. So just being in close proximity, and fighting each other so often, the rivalry kind of manifested itself. So yeah, I won't say that it was heated or friendly or what have you, but it was a rivalry per se. We'd fight, and there was tension, but it wasn't a bad thing. It was good for regional MMA, that's for sure, in our area, because it brought up a lot of butts in the seats, and it lended for really, really competitive fights. But honestly, it's a better situation in which we're what it is now. Everyone's benefiting. Sometimes you make mistakes as time goes on. In the beginning, and as time goes on, you stop making the same mistakes over and over again. So it's really a really good situation for everyone. I'm glad it kind of came to a head, and kind of we squashed all of it, because really it's probably one of the better systems that I know of in MMA. So yeah, there's no real rivalry there anymore. It's a very good business partnership, very good cross training partnership. So yeah, everything's good.
That's great to hear. And rivalries have never been a bad thing in our sport anyway. Looking back, I think recently we had, maybe Goes will have to chime in, but I know that we were talking about Brazilian top team, and it was Coach Rafael Cordeiro. We talked to him, and he was telling us about the days where Shootbox and Brazilian top team, they were huge rivals in pride. And then even on a smaller scale, when Goes and I called fights here in Las Vegas, when Vanderlei's fight team was a little bit more, well, I guess a little bit more prominent because Vandalay was in town. He was leading the
Yeah, yeah,
team, Syndicate, and Extreme Couture. It was really, really cool to see because, like you said, on the regional scene, on the amateur scene, it's tremendous, and it made everybody grow. And then years later, a lot of people pile around and they help each other get better.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You know, I mean, it served a, I guess, for lack of a better term, served a purpose for, you know, in the time, because it did bring a lot of, you know, influence, a lot of butts to the seats in our regional MMA shows, whether it was amateur or professional. And, you know, that's all in the past. And it kind of, I think, helped the sport in our area and in our region. But now we're moving on to much bigger and better things as a collaborative group.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about some of your fighters. We'll start with Aspen Ladd. She had a knee injury a few months back. It sounds like she's about halfway through her recovery, perhaps a little bit more, because she's pretty tenacious. I mean, she was hiking those mountains a lot faster than I thought she was going to. So I imagine she probably applies that to her rehab as well. But can you update us there? And then also, you probably had a good eye for what was happening this past Saturday night. Her division was on display, where we had you know, 4 fighters in 2 big fights. Can you tell us what you think may have happened in terms of her placing within that division, and then please update the injury?
Yeah, so I mean, Aspen, she has a whole medical team, whether with the UFC Performance Institute and Heather Linden and Tara Garreau, and then her at-home team that she works with all of her PT people at home in Sacramento. So it's a big collaborative effort. Aspen does, you know, PT 2 or 3 times a day, 5 times a week. So she's really putting a lot of work. Last I heard, she's about 5 or 6 weeks ahead of schedule. And you're right. It's a lot of it boils down to as much effort as Aspen puts in. She pushes past most that I've seen. You know, her hiking and all that kind of stuff adds to that. So my guess is you're probably going to see Aspen fight sometime around the end of February, the beginning of March. She started boxing. I held pads for her, maybe 2 weeks ago for the first time. So she was able to kind of move a little bit. So she's making progress quite nicely. And then with regard to the fights, yeah, I mean, we have our eye on 2 potential people based on what and who she was supposed to fight prior. They were good fights. I mean, I wouldn't say that they were necessarily unexpected. I mean, Juliana, I can't believe Pena made that mistake with 1.5 minutes left of the fight, because she clearly had it won. And then Holly looked good. Looked like Aldana froze a little bit. Didn't stick to whatever. It looked like she was kind of lost. Whatever their plan was, it didn't look like there was one. I don't think it was anyone's fault. It just kind of looked like Aldana didn't stick with whatever it was, because it looked like she was just kind of chasing Holly instead of actually cutting her off and kind of sticking to what it looked like initially what the plan was. And Holly looked fantastic. I mean, she looked great comparative to, you know, maybe her previous 1 or 2 fights. So yeah, there's big fights that happened, and a lot of impact relative to it. I think what's going to happen is Holly and GDR are going to have to fight. I mean, I don't know how that fight doesn't make sense for them to fight again and see what happens. When Aspen comes back, obviously there's 2 names, one in particular that she really, really wants to fight, because it's supposed to happen several times, and for whatever reason it didn't. So we will definitely be asking for it when the time is right and when Aspen's cleared. So, yeah.
Okay. I imagine one of those names is Holly Holm. That's the one that she was booked against. But if Holly fights Jermaine, then maybe there's another name
I think
out
what's
there.
going to happen is, yeah. I mean, I think Holly's going to fight GDR. Aspen wants to fight Juliana Pena really bad. They were supposed to fight several times, and we're going to get that fight at some point.
Okay.
Or maybe Raquel Pennington. You know, I don't know what Raquel's doing, but maybe at that time. But Juliana is on Aspen's radar.
Okay. Update us on
ranking wise. I mean, ranking wise, it's kind of all right there. I think you have GDR as 1, Holly's 2, Aspen's 3, Raquel's 4, and Pena's 5. So, you know, they're all kind of right there.
Can you update us on the fights that are coming up?
Well, I mean, Max Griffin, he's on the November 7th card. I think you guys spoke a little bit earlier. I'm not sure when Andrea Lee will be back in. My guess is sometime maybe in December. Marion, obviously, she was supposed to fight Ketlin Vieira. She broke her hand. So I'm not exactly sure when she will be back. But my guess is if I was going to be a betting man, I would say sometime in December she might be back. So yeah, I mean those are ones that would be coming up within the next in the future. And then I'm not sure when Greg is going to make his debut with Bellator. We haven't gotten any bout agreements or anything yet.